Cool. I think I'm recording right now.
Right,
All
great.
right. Great, great, great. So as I was saying, current student studying economics with specialization in business, and I've worked with a lot of search funds before. I've worked in boutique investment banks, planning to join Hooli and Loki next summer. But while I was doing all this, I found deal sourcing to be very, very, not kept up with the current trends. And
Hmm.
I've done a lot of deal sourcing myself, and I sort of implemented that manual workflow into an automized ones. And so I found Sung who's also a great friend of mine since high school, does a lot of AI work, worked in corporate before with customized AI. And so Sung Ho, why don't you kind of introduce your background?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sung Ho. I'm current student at USC studying computer science and business. And yeah, as George said, I've worked with a B2B AI service company where I've implemented a lot of AI solutions for big enterprises. And yeah, George talked to me about this pain point that a lot of firms had while he's working for those firms. So we sort of tested uh, various solutions and we sort of optimized it to the point where we have it right now. Yeah, and we're excited to show it to you today. Okay, cool. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, and I guess before sort of getting to know Eudox, I do have a few questions for you, specifically just maybe what is your current workflow like? So are you using any tools such as maybe Grata, Invent, like sort of describe your process right now?
Yeah, we don't use any of those tools. We trialed some of them, but we have a kind of, I guess, unique approach to sourcing where we will do cold outreach. We use HubSpot as our kind of like CRM to track
Hmm.
the people we reach out to. Um, we looked at building a tool in house actually
Hmm.
for like a CRM slash deal sourcing, and we ended up deciding not to go that direction. Although we may want to do that in the future.
Hmm.
I'm always partial to building versus buying,
Hmm.
so you can make something a bit more fit for purpose for
Yes,
what
sir.
you need. Um, and we do a lot of networked deals, so through lawyers and accountants. And so I think we're trying to be a little bit more intentional with like who we're outreaching to, and not just kind of do a ton of kind of cold outreach.
Hmm.
And then we work with business brokers as well. So in terms of tools, HubSpot, we have optimized some Google Sheets that work pretty well.
Hmm.
But yeah, in terms of kind of like, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the tool that you guys built is. When I took a look at it, do you know a company called Udo? UDU?
What is that?
It's a deal sourcing AI business. It seems pretty similar to what you guys have built. So yeah, we'll take a look at it. But it's a business that I got to know pretty well. Um, but yeah, once again, we didn't end up working with them to date. Although they kind of approach it in a similar way to, it sounds like what you guys are doing, at least on the surface.
Well, hopefully we strike a deal with you. But is there? I guess a follow up question would be: are there any like specific pain points for your current solutions right now? Like for your current processes, any pain points that you wish maybe someone else would help you with it?
I think organization and tracking are probably the two larger ones
Okay.
than actually sourcing from a Grata Inven perspective. I think my biggest concern is typically accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of found that when we've actually talked to business owners, what
Mm,
you find from publicly available sources is
right.
often not correct. And so I think it's probably like the largest industry pain point is just these are really small private businesses, and you often, until you talk to the owner directly,
Right.
can't find really
Mm-hmm.
accurate public information. So as good as the tech is, if the info on the company's revenue or employee counts is incorrect in databases that you're using to feed into a system, it's gonna garbage in, garbage out, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's probably, I think, the biggest pain point that I've seen, like in at least on the deal sourcing side of things. I think for us, probably the we're geographically focused in kind of the New York area, and
Mm-hmm.
so um,
the universe is pretty big, but it's not gigantic. I think probably for somebody who was like a searcher who's looking across the entire country, um, a tool like this or like a Udo Invin Grotto would be, um, yeah, maybe a little bit more applicable because they want to cast a really wide net, whereas we're a little bit more geographically focused, if that makes sense.
No, makes total sense. And I'm glad that you kind of talked about the accuracy part as well as the organization part, because we do, Eudox does, focus on deal sourcing, but we do have all these other functions that sort of, I guess, fits some of the criteria that you're talking about. And so, without further ado, I do want to show you a quick demo of our product. I'm going to try
Cool.
to do a share screen, and hopefully you are seeing it right now.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah, great, great, great. So this is gonna be our UI, and right off the bat, when you open our application, you're gonna see this dashboard, and you see where I already created multiple projects. But to start a project, you just import an Excel file, and we are working towards generation, but at the current moment, we're just working on enhancement. And maybe you saw it in the email as well. What we mainly do is when you upload a file of companies, just companies and the criteria that you want to search, it will automatically parcel it, and you know it'll identify the companies, identify the information that you're looking at, and then hopefully it creates something that you can start searching or looking for. Now there's two options that you can proceed with our tool. So first is once it's finished loading, you can search all the companies with one click. So it's saving the project. Take a minute. Great. So as you can see right now, you could obviously proceed to research, and then you can either select all companies or you can do a custom selection. So that's the first approach. Now the second approach is you just use the general chat function, and let's say we're looking at Gordon Electric Supply, right? You could start typing about Gordon Electric Supply, but I'm going to show you the first function first, which you just select the company, and you'll sort of kind of see what the agent is doing at the moment. You're going to see an execution view or log that tells you what type of information or where it is pulling from. And we are using public data, as you're saying, that it might be inaccurate. So we do give the option for you to implement your own API. So we can integrate it with your proprietary database, something that you have yourself, and the agent will use that source as well. And Sung Ho, maybe you can kind of talk about how the agent actually works.
Yeah, so Sean, as you mentioned, like public data can be inaccurate sometimes, and we've actually thought a lot about that because our agent is just pulling sources from public, right? And that always has the probability of being inaccurate. And the solution that we've sort of messed around with is we combine proprietary data with public data. So we've had some clients who've used already their proprietary database to find existing information, and then we combine that with our agent's public data so to verify. So that's the kind of private plus public solution that we've thought about, and I think it's been working pretty well. So it's something you can consider if you are considering proceeding with our solution. And in terms of the organization part, I'm also glad you mentioned that because we were thinking of building an internal CRM within our solution so that it can not only hold like the research information about the companies, but you can actually filter out those companies and proceed to outreach. And we actually have an outreach function right now, but it's not a full CRM yet. So we've been thinking about adding features on top of that to make it a full CRM on top of the existing email outreach function.
Yeah, and we'll kind of show you that later. uh, when we're finished research, and you can kind of see how the entire workflow works from the beginning of looking through the company till the end when you do your cold email outreach. So
Mm-hmm.
you see right now it's done its research, and now you can take a look at, okay, so you got one company. And by the way, I know it took kind of long, but we do parallel search. So it would be the same time if you do like 10 searches, but it would just cost a lot of tokens for us. So that's why we're doing one at the moment. But as you can see, these criterias are pre-filled. Like the criterias are the ones that I designate the agent to do. So the original Excel sheets already like tells the agent what it wants. So when you upload an Excel, you do want to be mindful that your x-axis are your criteria and your y-axis are your company names. And when you click onto the cell, it will tell you where it got its information, as well as some notes that it has. So some specific details indicating that what the agent noticed, that it's noteworthy. And another function that I really like personally is it corrects information for you. So we did that purposely, where we input the wrong data of this company, and obviously the web found that it's from Illinois, but we put Los Angeles, and it'll tell you that this information is wrong and mark it for you, so you
Mm-hmm.
can replace it, and now it's the correct one. And it'll give you like additional information on, for example, context. It's like, okay, here's the result that I got, but other website indicates that this is a likely possibility where the email could also be your first name, plus your last name. So it says likely initial last name and tells you why. And so you could also ask the chat function to be like, okay, tell me about the history of Gordon Electric Supply. And just like any general agent or general large LLMs, it'll start searching through the web again, looking through the list, um, and give you an information that it finds on web.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any questions so far?
Um, no questions.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess a comment. Just this is a really challenging problem to solve that you guys are taking on. I'm curious what it will say here. So yeah, let's look at this here.
So
Okay.
let's give you some information, growth and evolution, so evolution,
Mm-hmm.
and it does note that this business was woman owned, has a certification, tells you about the history, right? I got everything here. And what we plan to do in the future is, once you have all these search results, when you ask the agent to implement it in your own list, you could do that. Like any additional information that you searched, you can include it in the list. And I'll tell you why we want to have everything in a list, because later on, when you click onto contact automation, so you can start drafting your email, your cold email. So let's say, okay, a short and polite, concise email. And it'll generate a cold email template for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, tell it to customize, because if there's anything that I learned from previous search fund internship is that the more customized your email and the more personalized it is, the more likely the owner's going to respond to you. And so if you have all your information, especially the details, the ones that aren't scalable, usually, right, the owner's hobby, where's the owner's from, what's noteworthy of their business. For example, the that it's a woman owned has a woman owned certification. You don't want to add that manually every time, right? So you can tell the agent to do that by including it first in the Excel, and then when you automize your email, it'll automatically implement that when you're drafting it. And so we're generating it, and you can see, okay, great, right? Let's see. So includes the name, like it tells you, okay, what they do, right? And then you could include your name, your title, and company. It'll do that later, but you have to sort of implement that first. I didn't do that first, but and then we only have one right here. It's sort of like a dashboard, but you could send all. And at the moment, obviously, you could connect it with your email first of all. So I've already done mine, so I don't have to do it again. But you could connect it with your email, so it'll know what email to send from, and then usually it'll autofill the point of contact email for you if it's available on the list, and then you just click send. But I'm not gonna disrupt Kara right now, and so yeah, that's pretty much the entire workflow that we have at the moment. I guess any questions?
Yeah, I think this just illustrates the challenge of the problem. So I mean this more in a constructive way rather than like a gotcha way or something. But like if you do a quick Google search of Gordon Electric supply, you can pretty quickly see that like Cara is actually retired. She used to be the CEO. Now her son Michael has taken over for the last 2.5 years. And so that's not actually the right person to send the email to. So I think that, just it goes back to that core problem that, you guys are trying to solve, is just the accuracy of these. And so that's, I think, why we've taken some of the approach of, I think that happens all the time. You get wherever you get the email from, Rocket Reach or something like that. My previous business was, I don't know if you looked at it, but it's a business that does outreach to experts. So we both have a lot of experience in terms of finding the right emails for people and things like that. But we, always dealt with the challenge of, are you sending the email to the right person, to the right email address? If you go on a lot of these websites, it'll have 5 different emails, that either are totally made up emails or somebody hasn't used them in 15 years or something like that. So I think that's kind of the challenge in this space. And that's probably a little bit why we've taken a little bit more of the smaller, more intentional rather than like a mass outreach approach, because you probably get some hits. And I agree with a lot of your sentiment, more customized is better. But if you say something in an email that's incorrect about somebody's business and it's like highly customized, but it's not actually right, that can actually be a little bit of a more negative thing than if you just said like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about something very generic. I'd like to talk to you about selling your business. Are you free for 5 minutes? Is in some ways probably a little bit better than, hey, like I have this very specific nuanced, research reference about you in the email and that's wrong. So, hopefully that's helpful just in the sense, and again, not to point something out, but I think it illustrates the problem actually extremely well, that it was the wrong person to send the email to. And so, that would be my only comment. And I think that's what we've seen, like, big businesses that have grown rather large, Invent and Grata and SourceScrub were just purchased recently. And those are good, pretty sizable businesses. But when we looked at the databases, I would do some cross-checking, and the data was just not up to the standard of what I would want to pay for. I think you're going to see that a lot in small, privately held companies, that the data is just really, really difficult. I think an approach of like, how do you get a lot of that data that is accurate into the system, which would take like thousands of person hours to talk to people and somehow ingest all of that data correctly. It's obviously a huge investment, but I don't see another way really to get accurate data, because what's out there right now, it's just hard. And so I think that's what everybody's dealing with. But that's the that's what the market is today. If there's a way to crack that problem and get more accurate data, that is just a huge differentiator
Mm,
for someone. Because everybody's pulling from similar data sources, right? That they either pay, a nominal fee for, Apollo or Rocket Reach or something like the Hunter.io or something like that. So the data sources are the same for everybody, and so they're just as inaccurate. So it's actually just about like,
mm,
are you a good sales team, or do you structure a company the right way, or have you raised enough money? And that's what people buy.
mm.
I don't know that there's really like a totally differentiated product out there, at least now. So yeah, hope that's helpful. I mean, a few other questions I'd be curious, like, you've obviously structured this in a good way, but if somebody's asking you, okay, if I was to sign up with Claude or something, could I replicate this, relatively easily? Or if I ask the same questions, obviously the workflow is really nice, and the organization having it
Mhm.
in a tool is good. But I don't know how you guys would think about that. We do a fair amount with Claude as a tool, and it's pretty good. Probably gets us like 70% of the way there without the organization. Um,
Yeah, so
and so, yeah. So anyway, I'll pause there. But those are just one
yeah,
thought
no,
and
no.
one kind of like question.
By the way, glad you brought it up because that is accuracy is also another thing that we're trying to solve. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sungho. I think the one way to do that, at least from the technical perspective, is to improve the RAG. And usually, what we would do is, when it retrieves information, it would, you know, get relevant information before it consults the LLM because LLMs trained on previous databases. And so that's something we've been actively trying to work on. But thank you so much for that thought. And I guess, Sungho, can you maybe sort of talk about how we structure our agent better than how you could use like a vanilla LLM such as Claude?
Yeah. So, Sean, as you mentioned, like the data inaccuracy is like similar across like all tools currently. So I think our advantage is mainly the organization part that you talked about. So we're really like honing in on that part where it's our agent is really a platform where you can structure your data and uh, like a CRM plus an agent, so that you can work easily to organize, a list of companies and keep track of where you're at with all the companies. So, yeah, that's what we would say about our tool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good structure. It's a good idea. It's basically, um, there was a somebody who's a software engineer that I was talking to, and talking about building something similar to what you guys have here, with a little bit of like, we didn't go through your entire workflow, but like, yeah, a searching mechanism, ability to structure data, ability to put that, adjust that data like manually. Once you talk to somebody on the phone and say, oh, actually, this company doesn't have 51 to 200 employees, it has 33 employees, and it has X amount of revenue. And so how could you kind of like, yeah, create something that you could work with internally, and then obviously kind of structure the projects exactly as you have it, kind of like, yeah, here's the, I mean, I think this would be very similar to what the system we built in our previous business. Like, how do you actually structure those projects, and company outreach, and what are important data points, and how do you kind of move from like, yeah, this is a company we found, to one that we've contacted, to one that we've actually been in touch with the person. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you want to capture all of that data in the CRM. um, but yeah, I mean, it's a good good tool, and I
Yeah.
think a good start that you guys have. But it's a challenging problem to solve, and yes, it's similar to what we thought about building in house as well.
Yeah, and I just want to add a quick point on the vanilla or on how it differentiates from Claude. I'm sure you noticed like cost structure, and I think this is something that we also wanted to uh, emphasize in our tool is that we do a really good job at optimizing first how it recognizes like how it uses tokens and chunking it. That's a part of the software ingenuity part like that we've been able to sort of implement. Second of all is the type of LLM that we use. So DeepSeek, for example, is 95% of the or 5% of the cost of Claude, and obviously you're not going to use Claude Opus 4.6 for everything, for writing email, for like parsing information. And so we use OpenAI for certain information. We use DeepSeek for certain information. We use Claude for the most, logic required task. And all of that needs human manual, like, adjustment on the type of information and in the task you're processing. And so I think that's an advantage, and we really squeeze the cost to minimize using the wrong tool, or to minimize using the wrong tool and paying for the wrong thing. And so structurally, cost wise, I think we do have an advantage. And so that's how we sort of differentiate, if you're really looking for that part. Anyways, I know like it's nearing 30 minutes, and so thank you so much for taking this time. I'll record. I'll make sure to send the video to you, and if you're still interested, would love to schedule a meeting with your deal sourcing guy. And if you do have, like, again, we're looking for a beta user, no cost to you. The only, like, you're giving us all the feedback we need to make this a better product, and in turn, we're giving you an additional option that is completely free. And so would love to see if you have any availability maybe next week, in the future, and if anyone that we should be aware of to be in contact, such as maybe the person who's doing deal sourcing at your firm.
Yeah, thank you. Usually I try not to schedule back to back, but I do have a call right now. You mentioned the 30 minutes, but send over please send over the video, and we'll take a look at it, and then we'll kind of like get back to you guys. But yeah, thanks for doing the demo. And yeah, definitely a problem to be solved. So I think it's a good identification of the issue from your experiences. So but yeah, let's keep in touch for sure, and happy to help how we can.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Sean.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.